Hello, this is Candace Day, and I am a realtor with Keller Williams South Sound, and also have a passion for traveling. And today I'm going to talk to you about my recent trip and second trip to Dubai, UAE. So this is a special presentation put together for the ninth grade class, for Mrs. Strong's ninth grade class in Missoula, Montana. So, hi guys. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to bring up a PowerPoint that I've put together in just a few moments. But first, I'd like to go over some of your questions, and we'll cruise through the pictures that I have, and then we'll go through the PowerPoint, and hopefully it won't be too redundant. Some of the themes will repeat a little bit. Okay, so here we go. First, we are going to do our screen share. And I also happen to, all right, first we'll do a screen share and then go to the PowerPoint. Let's see how this works out. Such an interesting time we're living in. All this technology, super cool. You can live anywhere in the world and work from home, all this stuff, but we got a lot to figure out. All right, so here we go. Okay, so question of what made me go to Dubai. So I honestly had no interest initially in the Middle East whatsoever. In fact, I grew up in a family that was very prejudiced, racist. I was taught that the Middle Eastern people were to be feared, that they were evil, Muslims were evil, things like that. That's what I was told, mostly by my stepfather. And he didn't really like anybody though, so but you know, I refused to really believe him about the things that he would say about other people, because I would go out in the world and I would meet people and I'd be like, wait, they're nice. And so it was just really about like challenging that belief. But what initially happened was I, through a random set of circumstances, ended up researching about Dubai and learning more and more about the country and finding that it looked really fascinating to me. So I had money set aside that was supposed to be for different travel experience, but then I just decided that I needed to go check it out. So the first time I went and I did a Spartan race, which is something that is a hobby of mine. And so I raced a 5K in the desert sands, and it was a women's only event. So there was women out there and they were covered head to toe. And they were running in the sand and doing obstacles, and it was super cool. So, you know, that's not something like these women were very empowered and strong and, you know, respected. And it wasn't something that I was ever taught, you know, was a thing. So, so that's kind of a couple of the things there, you know, something that surprised me that I wasn't expecting. Favorite part about Dubai is actually the history, the historical district, Al Fahidi. I absolutely could spend every single day there. I just love it. It's just where the old trading village actually originally was. It's quiet, it's peaceful, it's very artistic. There's a lot of history there. Everyone's very friendly and helpful. Least favorite part about Dubai, taxis, taxi drivers. I kind of hate those anywhere I go, but I really, really don't like taxi drivers in Dubai in particular. Dealt with them in Mexico and China, but in Dubai, it's super frustrating because you just never know what you're gonna get. Sometimes you get somebody who's really awesome. They speak English. They don't try to like take a long route to drain more money out of you. And then sometimes you get other ones that they pretend like they don't know what you're saying. They get lost, things like that. And that's really frustrating because that can drain your wallet really fast. And I had that experience a few times. So there's inconsistency there. Sometimes when I find a good one, I get their information so I can call them directly. um, or like an Uber driver. So they do have Uber, they have taxis, they have all kinds of options. I'll cover that in a little bit though. So transportation, I ended up renting a car last time, partway through, which was super fun. Um, so yeah, it's a lot of times when I've traveled, I've looked at things, in pictures and videos, and I'm like, oh wow, it looks so huge and big, or like you see movies, and you're like, wow, the Colosseum. And then you go there, and I find this especially true for Europe. You go there and you're like, huh, kind of small. Did not have that reaction for Dubai. It was like, whoa, how did they make this so vast? So, for instance, this is actually a picture of just the top third portion of the airport entrance right after you get through customs, which, by the way, their system is ridiculously smooth, fast, quick. I mean, you're like off the plane, even with COVID, they were so efficient and so coordinated. It's really something that impresses me a lot about the way that pretty much all the systems in Dubai are like that. It's like a lot of thought went into things. Um, so biggest cultural shock. Um, hmm, boy, that's kind of a tough one. I think I think one of the things that was really different for me is that they have a sort of a different way of life. And just go through a couple of pictures here so you can look while I'm talking. So they have a different way of life as far as a lot of times, and it's mostly because of the heat. Um, but at nighttime, you would see like families out at like 10, 11 o'clock at night. And I'm like, why are those kids not in bed? um, but they would be, out having family time, eating dinner at that time. And it's because, like the clock is kind of different, right? Like it's people get up and they kind of like go do their workouts and take care of business a little bit in the mornings, and then there's like this big kind of siesta where the whole city gets really quiet. There's only like a few workers outside, maybe construction people or some service workers, things like that, but like it's pretty quiet, and then everything comes back to life at like 5 or 6 o'clock. So I wasn't really prepared for that. Um, so that was like a little strange and different for me. Um, and then also just like, they do have a very traditional style of dress. A lot of people who, you know, um, end up living there for a while, they kind of adopt style of dress too. So, there's like people are really covered up. Women don't have their face covered, just usually just their hair. Um, and it's not forced or anything like that. It's really just more about a pride or modesty, an honor. They see it as an honor to dress in that style. Um, so that's pretty cool. Fascinating cultural thing. Um, one of the things that I found really beautiful was the call to prayer, um, which happens periodically throughout the day. I won't say exactly when. It's like lunch and like dinner, and then early in the morning. And there's like one more other time, like before, like at sunset. So things like sunrise, like midday, dinner time, sunset, something like that. But it's just beautiful because like you could be just somewhere randomly at the beach, or you could be having dinner or shopping or whatever, and suddenly you hear this this singing, basically almost chanting, like singing, um this, and then it sort of like starts at like one mosque and then it goes to the next, and the mosques are like placed all over the place, right? So like They're, I wouldn't say they're like on every corner, it's not like that, but they're sort of like centrally located to a neighborhood, um, so that they're always like within reach, for people to attend. And I would have to look into the requirements on that. I'm not Muslim, so I don't want to speak out of turn. But it's really cool because like there's sort of this holy feeling, like a spiritual feeling that sort of fills the air. And it'll start at one, and then it kind of domino effects down the line. Something I didn't notice until my second trip. So that I found really, really fascinating. Favorite thing about Dubai altogether. Oh, man, you guys, these are some tough questions. How do you pick your favorite thing about your favorite place? That's like trying to pick a favorite child. So, okay, I would say the thing that most inspires me and that I love about Dubai is that it's a place where actual coexistence is happening. Um, I'm not going to say it's perfect there. I'm not going to say that there isn't issues. There definitely are. Like any city, it's got its kind of shady underbelly. It, I'm sure there's things, there's terrible things, you know, that go on. There are some questionable labor practices that have been brought up. There are some questionable things that has happened with the leadership, and their families and stuff like that. So there are some things, you know, but like as an overall whole and like the overall feeling is like there's so many people that are just genuinely kind to each other there, and so much like um just cohabitating respect for one another, you know, like I didn't see anyone attacking someone because of what they were dressed like or what they were wearing or how they were, you know, choosing to pray or things like that, you know. So, you know, I didn't see um, any indication of racism or things like that, you know. So that's just my experience. It could be different for other people, but that was my impression. My favorite place in Dubai, again, is the Al Fahidi district. Language barrier, everyone speaks English, everyone. So, except for like maybe people who just moved there from another country, but it's basically the common language is English. However, it's not always perfect English, so that can be frustrating. The main language is Arabic, but it's a type of Arabic that's a little bit different than some of the other parts of the Middle East or the Arabic world. It's I believe it's called Farsi, and it's actually like softer in a way. Like it's more, it has more of a poetry to the way that the rhythm of the words go together. So it actually, in my opinion, sounds very beautiful. I don't find it harsh to the ear at all. And it's they're like kind of like some common things. And this is just a travel tip in general. I always try to learn like the words like for hello, salam, you know, thank you, shukran. um, and then there's like little catchphrases that people kind of say in their um, like mashallah, like wow, that means amazing, right? Inshallah, that means if God wills it, you know, like we'll see, like hopefully. So there's kind of these things that, you know, you kind of pick up and people all share that. So Arabic words are kind of mixed in with the English a little bit. A lot of people speak multiple languages there. So mostly just us Americans who only know one. Um, so yeah, so here's an example. Like this is Easter candy. They actually decorate for Christmas in the downtown. I mean, it's crazy. Most beautiful place to visit there. Let me go back one because that answers the question. So this is at the base of the Burj Khalifa in the Dubai Mall, and this is a kind of a part of like a big man-made lake. And on the other side of this, there's this fountain, and there's this amazing fountain show. So you can Google Dubai fountain or Burj Khalifa fountain show, and you can see that. It's really, really beautiful. And they have like little boats that go along here. You can take like hop on them for like $3, and they take you all around. And they'll take you over to the other side and let you buy like ice cream and get back on the boat. Or maybe they just let me, I don't know. um, so restaurants, speaking of eating, so restaurants are, there's like every single food in the world is there. So the thing that I love about Dubai is like everybody's there, every single nationality, every single um, religion, country, everyone's represented. It's really cool. Um, so I'll cover the foods and the dishes in the PowerPoint. I haven't personally been there during Ramadan. Ramadan, they just ask that people who are visiting don't, I believe the rules, they ask that you don't eat in public. Most the rules with Ramadan is they're fasting during the daylight hours, and then they break the fast and have these family gatherings and friends gathering I think it's like every night, and then they have like one big kind of celebration at the end. Fasting is really interesting. You see it throughout almost all cultures and religions, and it has been scientifically proven to help your body, and is recommended in fitness and nutrition. So crazy. It's been around, practice been around for thousands of years and finally proven to be scientifically a healthy thing. Best way to visit the Palm Tree Islands. Okay, there are tours that go out there. There's a hotel called the Atlantis that sits right at the end of the palm tree. You can take a Dubai tour, Dubai Marina tour on a yacht for like $40 to $60, and it'll take you out and you can see, like the whole island. But to see it from up above, you'd have to stay like in a place called Media City, and then you can kind of see it better. But to really see it, you'd have to be like in a helicopter or airplane to get a better view. There's a place called Skydive Dubai. It costs about $500, and you can jump out of an airplane and be like flying towards the palm. I'm gonna do that next time. Okay, so let's see. Oh, the indoor ski resort. I didn't personally do that. Just being from Montana, I wasn't really interested in going and doing that, but almost everything that you want to do there, it starts at about $30 and goes on up to about $150 on average. I'm gonna guess that's gonna be probably somewhere around $40. Again, money wise, we have the advantage. Our money's worth more than their money. So when you're looking at places to travel, you want to look at the exchange rate. And then you want to look at Lonely Planet often provides this. You want to look at the cost of like an average day, So I was eating at like some really fancy restaurants, and I was walking away with a $45 bill and having everything that I wanted. But I also only do that like once a day. The fancy restaurants maybe twice during a trip, but most of the time I keep snacks on hand. I try to stay somewhere I can cook my own food for at least one meal a day or 2 meals a day. So you can lose a lot of money just eating, and then you can leave a trip with 10 pounds heavier as well. So there's also going out to the islands. There's different like little tours that will take you out there. You can go out snorkeling. I found one that I almost did that was like $100 for a whole day, like boat tour out there, beachside, lounging and snorkeling and stuff. But here they don't really have a lot of fish, so I kind of skipped it. I tried to go scuba diving, but I had this crazy thing happen that ended up not getting to go do that. But I had a lot of other cool things I did too, so it's all good. I got to see the Burj Khalifa from the base, and this last time I actually went up in the Burj Khalifa for the first time. I actually paid to go into a building, a tall building. I've seen a whole bunch of them in person, and I always refuse to pay to go inside of a building. I'm really glad I did. It was pretty cool. You could see like the whole city, and then you could see like the city just stopped and it turned into desert. So that was really neat. And let's see, artificial islands, already covered that. And how does the desert look? There's a variety of desert. I'm going to stop and talk about that. And let's see, exotic plants, fruit, and vegetables. I'm going to talk about food as well. How long does it take to travel there? So it takes between 10 and 14 hours, depending on where you live in the United States. There's a direct flight out of Seattle on Emirates. During normal times, during COVID times, it wasn't available. I hate being on a plane that long, so you can make it a long journey and make it take up to 20 hours if you want. So just depends on how many flights you want to break it into. But Emirates is amazing. Like economy is what first class is on most planes. And it only costs, if you buy it at the right time, you can pick up a ticket for less than $1,000, so between $800 to $1,000 out of Seattle. So I use the Hopper app. That's how I figure out where that stuff is at. I also look at, I'll go to an airline's site directly, and I will figure out what their main routes are, like the cities that they fly out of, and to, so I can figure out which one to use, which one's going to be the best. If they have a main hub somewhere, they're going to have the best price and the best flight options, and then I stalk them and wait for the right time. And you always want to go on like the edge of the peak time or the peak season for travel. Let's see, interaction with the locals. Yeah, we talked about the English. The English varies depending on how long they've been in Dubai, if they're if they're a resident non-citizen, like meaning they're there basically on a work visa. That is 90% of your interactions are actually people who are not Emirati. And Emirati are the only citizens of the country, and no one else is allowed citizenship. That means like no voting rights, no political rights, things like that. But they do get pretty well taken, like non-resident or non-citizens do get pretty well taken care of by the government and in other ways, and supported in other ways. Like I guess like during Ramadan, there's sometimes like debts paid off for them, or during political holidays, people get stuff like gifted and paid off for them and things like that. So there's some generosity there. Granted, a lot of the people that are there in the service jobs, they don't make a lot, but they're making more and living a better life than a lot of the countries they come from. So let's see, as far as the Emirati people, you kind of have to know someone. You kind of have to I've only interacted with a few Emirati people directly. They kind of keep to themselves and in their own groups, their own cliques, and they won't approach you for sure. And I didn't really feel like I could just approach, a group of women. You always see people in groups, so I mean, it just seems awkward, right? The interactions I had, naturally occurred. Let's see, but Emirati people, when you do interact with them, they're very nice, and their English is amazing. So a lot of Emirati people are very highly educated too. So that's just been my experience. Like I said, everyone has different experiences. So if you plan on living in Dubai, it would be expensive. It is very expensive to live there, from what I hear, but you also make a pretty good amount of money when you have like a good job. You have to have a good job to live there. Before you even move there, you have to have like a substantial savings, and basically you have to have a employer or sponsor. And they have, because there's no actual residents or citizens other than the Emirati, you're a non-citizen resident. You have to have your plane ticket basically paid for. Your return ticket is insured before you even arrive, right? You're not allowed to be homeless there. You're not allowed to like live on the streets and stuff like that is not allowed. You don't see that. And basically, you can't be unemployed. If you're an adult, you have to have a job. If you don't, after 3 months, you're back on the plane. You're going back home. So that's kind of the way they have it set up. This is inside Al Fahidi district. This is one of the traders that I like to go back to and haggle with, building a relationship. This is also in the Al Fahidi. This is an artist, a resident artist. They have a whole art district. This man's actually from the United States, but he's been over there for about 15 years, I think so he said. He's from New York originally. Pretty cool artwork though, right? Okay, so government, I'm going to talk about diversity. I've already covered, cost of living. I would say, like, if you're getting paid by American company, right, like an American wage, Dubai is going to be a pretty amazing playground for you because your money will go really far. But if you're not, and you're just like maybe in a service worker kind of role, it might not be as easy to make it because it can be very expensive there. I mean, it's like very lavish and very luxurious and stuff. So, okay, what's different in Dubai as dress codes? Dress codes I will definitely talk about a little bit. One thing is that you can like go to the beach and wear what you want to wear. That's cool, but you can't leave the beach in a swimsuit or bikini. That's against the rules. They don't monitor visitors, tourists as far as their dress, but you can't be nude in public. If you do wear like scantily clothing stuff, you will get looked at and treated like a little bit differently. I prefer to go with like maybe more modest clothing when I'm there, just purely out of respect, because that's something that they in their culture they see as being respectful. Like I'm not there to like just disrupt things and cause change. Like that's their country. Plus, I don't know, it just feels kind of awkward having people stare at you, right? So, I think the shortest like skirt that I wore was like halfway up my thigh, maybe a little bit longer. And, and I still felt kind of uncomfortable in that. So I think maybe that's almost all the questions. No, maybe not. Oh, a couple more. No, I don't know how to speak Arabic. I have tried and don't really know. You don't have to wear a hijab. Social barrier that found really difficult. Yeah, I think the only social barrier that really that I really felt was just the luxury, like not like there's kind of like the super wealthy people there. And I'm not a super wealthy person. And so there were a couple times where maybe, like I felt a little out of place because I might be somewhere that was nice. Like this place here was like this rooftop dining place. It was posh. And there was just sort of this attitude and energy to it that was like over the top luxury, and it was a little bit ridiculous. Just a little bit more down to earth than that. So that's the Atlantis, and that's the whole skyscraper as you're going out on the boat. So the Atlantis is like out at the end of the Palm Island. This is right next to the Palace Hotel in Burj Khalifa. These cars are everywhere. The cars are crazy. I don't know if you saw like the one. I did this whole photo set of like my son's Lego figure. That's the Burj Khalifa. and it is super hard to get it all in one picture. It's the tallest building in the world, and you should look it up. It's really cool history on that. This is out in the Big Red, sand dune bashing, and candle lighting. And I'm going to go through a lot of these, so these will be also in the presentation, but not all of them. So I wanted to make sure that you got a chance to see everything here, because I couldn't quite fit everything. Yeah, that is it for that. So now I'm going to switch to the presentation. I've already covered a lot of this stuff. I'll try not to be too redundant. I broke it into, based on your questions, I broke it into a couple different categories. So the activities and adventures, food and drink, culture, structures. So jumping right in, and slideshow. Okay, so the mountains you see here, that's actually the Jabal Jayas and Ras Al Khaimah. So that's not in Dubai. It's only about an hour and a half, maybe 2-hour drive to get there. So it would be like going from Missoula up to Kalispell or something, right? And let's see what else. Oh, and then there's the beach that sits right on the Persian Gulf. A ton of seashells there. I love it. It's pretty moderate water, like as far as temperature. You can do a million different beach activities, you name it. And then of course it's a city. So you have the city life, the whole nightlife that comes with that. There's 3.33 million people who live there. And then the desert, as I mentioned, it's called Big Red. So, what are some of the things that you can do? There's a luxury nightlife. They have clubs. They have these yacht cruises. They have, obviously, like I said, everything comes alive at night. Like that's when a lot of people are out like shopping. Like the whole place comes to alive. And then like that's when all the fancy cars come out and they start doing like dragging up and down the strip. And you have like Maseratis, Lamborghinis, just to name a few. But yeah, their malls are like massive. Even their like small mall is like 3 times the size of a Montana mall. I actually hate the Dubai Mall because I always get lost in there forever. And by the time I figure the place out, it's like time for me to come back home. But yeah, like you can get lost, and then GPS doesn't even work. It's like, it's that big. I mean, you can easily put in, I think one day I ended up almost walking like 6 miles in that mall. Yeah, anyways. And then there's like the Al Fahidi desert, or not desert, Al Fahidi district, that has like these cute like little local shops and stuff, these local traders. And like I said, there's water sports. I mean, you can go scuba diving. This is actually in the picture, the person scuba diving in an aquarium that is inside the mall. And those are sharks above me. That's a shark, a very decent sized shark. A me-sized shark. And I'm just walking through this little tunnel that goes underneath it. So, I mean, if that gives you any idea of how large the mall is. There's a waterfall that is like falls from like 3 stories. And then of course there's the desert activities, the dune bashing, or you get quads. It's really popular going out, just cruising around in the desert on the quads. So, I mean, I think I've made the point. There's definitely a ton of things to do and see, and it's just endless. You just can't even see it all. Oh, and I didn't include it in here because I haven't gone to any of them yet. But they're about to have the World Expo It was supposed to launch last year. We all know what happened. They're launching it this year. The World Expo they have all these like exhibitions that are going to be dedicated to each country. It's massive buildings. It's huge, massive buildings. They have all these like almost like theme park areas that you can go to. And they're just all these like different structures and activities that you can do. Just like the ski hill, like they have the largest indoor ski hill. They have a ice skating rink in the mall, Dubai Mall. It's crazy. So it's definitely like a place that it's like they want the biggest, the best, the brightest, more. And in fact, even though they already have the largest tower in the world, they're building the largest tower in the world. Again, they're building the next one so that they don't get beat by someone else. I guess, I don't know. So the top foods to experience in Dubai, I would say like the beverages are one of the things that they're really good at. They have, because it's non-alcoholic society, people can still drink there. There are like hotels and restaurants that offer that. And if you're a resident, you can get a pass to be able to go buy alcohol. But it's not something that's really typical of most of their local restaurants. But what you will see are these different like specialty drinks, and they will have like Moroccan mint iced tea, and just like all kinds of like mocktail kind of stuff that you wouldn't even think of. And they specialize in coffee. You might recognize Arabic coffee. That's them. That's their thing. And their coffee is amazing. I love it. So appetizers, hummus, they say it hummus, unleavened bread, also called Arabic bread. And then they have the other like appetizers that, we have in the United States. Chicken shawarma. I have decided this is the Middle Eastern taco. Actually, I've started to notice there's something of a taco in almost every country. There's some sort of food wrap thing. And then kebab is another thing. So barbecue kebab, barbecued meats. And again, like I said, if you want something, like if you wanted to eat Irish food, they have Irish restaurants. If you wanted to eat Mexican food, they have Mexican restaurants. They have a lot of Greek restaurants. They have a lot of Italian restaurants. Those things are really popular. One thing that I was a little surprised is that they have like entire restaurants that are dedicated to dessert. But they're also like amazing. Like these, just, you might have seen one of the pictures where it's just this like artistic and beautiful dessert. And then in this last picture, it's candied, it's like different candied nuts. And then there's dates. And this is one of the things that at the end of their day during Ramadan, when they're at the end of the fast, dates are often one of the things that they will consume. And but they're not just like boring. They're like, filled with nuts. Like there's the one with the green over there, it has pistachio in it. And they last for a really long time. So it's very logical that this would have been a staple in the old days when they were traveling through the desert. I actually really like them. It's kind of almost like a chocolatey sort of fruit. I can't really quite explain it. It's like a fruity texture, but a chocolatey flavor. So moving on to a little bit about culture. And these are all the reasons that I absolutely love it there. So falconry is something that's very integral into their history and their society, even today. They have a couple different falconry breeds. The two pictured here. Oh shoot, I forgot it. I think this one's called the Bakari. Bakari? I think it's Bakari is the little guy here. And then the one I'm holding is the Sakar, and it's the biggest one, and that's the hunter. So they actually train them to like hunt down food for them and stuff like that. And they still have like these this falconry hunting season, and these like places you can just go in and buy a live falcon, which is where I'm at when I'm holding it. So it's really, really kind of interesting. Like, oh yeah, just me and my pet falcon over here, right? Hashtag goals for me. That's one of my things I'm actually gonna have at one point. The other thing that like these are things that actually surprised me like once I started researching, because they're all things that I already loved long before I ever knew about Dubai. So they have Arabian horses, which if you know anything about the history of horse racing, thoroughbreds were actually influenced by the Arabian horse breed, and our horse racing as we know it today actually is very heavily influenced by the Arabian horses. And then they have a long history of endurance riding, and it's still very much part of the culture. The Emirati people, like all of them, all the kids, even like the royalty, they all learn how to ride. They have stables. It's like a family thing. And then so is camels, obviously, because that was like man's best friend to survive living in the desert, right? And the Bedouin tribes and stuff. So real quick, I want to skip to the henna and the belly dancing. I think that these are actually a little bit more Persia related, a little bit more like an outside influence, but then they were adopted into the culture. But also like just very common. So henna actually originates in India, but it's something that the women in Dubai, they'll get their hands done on a regular basis, or for like weddings, or if there's a special event, they're going out for the night to a nice dinner. So that's just kind of one of their ways of expressing themselves. Okay, so we'll hop over to clothes, speaking of women. So over here on the far left, you'll see the different types of traditional dress. This is actually my friend who's a fashion designer there in Dubai. And so she let me take this picture. By the way, a disclaimer, everyone that you see pictured, I had their permission to take the picture. Anyone who was, up close or within distance, because you're not allowed to just take pictures of people randomly. You can get in a lot of trouble. And the dudes sitting up there with the falcon, they're actually mannequins, they're not real. But this is the traditional headdress of the men and the traditional clothing that they wear, but they're not required to. And then the more elaborate is the one pictured here in the storefront. You don't really see women just walking around like that, though. That's like very much just special occasion. And then we talked a little bit about the cars. There's like a whole luxury car culture. It's just, everyone pretty much who is anyone drives a nice car. And it's kind of funny because you can tell if somebody is someone while you're driving in traffic based on the numbers in their license plate. So if they have a 1, well, I think that's actually the ruler of Dubai. But basically the 1, 2, those are the head honchos. And then so on and so forth, so if there's 2 digits, if it's like a 15, like they're probably somebody like in the royal family. So you probably don't want to, cut them off or make other hand gestures, which by the way, hand gestures of a certain nature are also illegal. You can get in trouble and fined for doing that. So you have to mind your road rage. And then religion, I kind of already talked about that. It is a Muslim religion and Muslim country, but they do have a respect for all other religions there and welcome all other religions. They had the Pope come and visit. They just welcomed the Jewish community just this year. Really like kind of a big deal. As I mentioned, they decorate for Christmas in the downtown. I mean, it's just a very welcoming culture. But they do have laws that are based around their Muslim religion, and you are expected to follow those, such as like the nudity, no public display of affection, no making out, um, no like pornography, things like that, immoral things that are considered immoral by the Muslim religion. So, and then I covered henna. That's actually right when it's first done. It looks like that, and then it dries up and it flakes off, and then it turns like this reddish color. Shisha. So, how do they relax? Sounds pretty uptight, right? Well, what I noticed is the desserts, the mocktails, and shisha. Everyone seems to love the shisha. What is shisha? I'm not really quite sure, but flavored tobacco, from what I can tell, and a little something else. That's all I know. I don't smoke, so tried it once, just to try it, and I was like, okay, this feels weird. And that was it. Okay, so we covered religion, and sorry about the redundancy there. Governments. So the UAE is basically made up of, it's like kind of like the little states, right? And I mean, when I say little, it's definitely little in comparison to our states, but it's 7 emirates, and the president of Dubai, the president of Dubai is, the president of UAE is actually located in another emirate called Abu Dhabi, you may have heard of. And the prime minister of the UAE, the head of the government, is located in Dubai. So he's pictured here. He's seen with our president. He's congratulating our current president. But it's also like this weird structure, because it's like they have that, but they're also historically a bunch of different tribal units, right? So the ruling family is also royalty, the ruling family of Dubai, right? So the other guy here, that's the Crown Prince of Dubai. So he's expected to step into his father's position. So it's, like an inherited government role based on these ancient tribal families. And this family in particular has been in power for about 500 years. But does that mean they have absolute power? They'll never be kicked out? Well, no, because they actually have within their culture and within the Muslim religion and things like that, there's, if they're not doing their duties and taking care of their people, then they can actually get voted out. They can lose their power, but they've done such a good job leading their people and taking care of them, apparently, that no one's objected. So this ruler of Dubai, let's see if I can say his name. I always mess it up. Is Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum. I think I did that okay. And he has been the leader since February 2006. It was actually his father who basically, Rashid bin Saeed Al Maktoum, who was actually the visionary behind Dubai going from a trading village. You'll see it down here where it says history, and there's like a waterfront. That's actually the Dubai Canal, and it's like the old district and the souks, and they used to have, they've always been a major trading village, right? And then he had this vision, roughly about 50 years ago, when they decided to come together with the other emirates and make a country. That he was working towards his vision, and just started to really make it come true in the early 2000s, when he started building the islands, and everybody was like, what is this guy doing? Like he's taking sand, like so much sand, and building these islands. And I remember seeing it on TV and I was like, those people are crazy. That's never gonna work. But he really like went with the vision of if you build it, they will come. And that's really, kind of that attitude is really like how the whole place is, um, kind of like how they approach everything, right? And they just have like these plans. They just keep building, keep building. They have plans for communities and different parts of the city that are like 100 years out. They have like a 500-year plan to end up in living on Mars, for instance. So, um, just a couple of the things. Yeah, so there's a bunch of palaces throughout. You can't really have access to all of them. There's like one you can go as a tourist. This is Hamdan. That's the crown prince. He's like one of my favorite people in the world because he's super cool. He does like free diving and he jumps out of airplanes, and he even tried out their little jetpack thing. I'll talk to you about in a second. So yeah, there's this whole coexistence. This is my friend and I. She's Muslim. I'm very American with tattoos. Like we're totally opposite, but that's just the attitude. She's from Iran, but lives in Dubai now because her family moved there to get away from the conflict in Iran. Anyways, yeah, and then luxurious living. So this picture all the way here to the right, that's all lit up in rainbow colors. That's the Burj Al Arab. It is the only 7-star hotel in the world. I think I looked at the rooms and it was something like $10,000 a night to stay in one of the rooms. I can't even imagine what has to be like. There better be monkeys doing ballet for $10,000 a night. I mean, my brain can't. Oh, and back over here under religion, this is actually the Abu Dhabi Mosque. I haven't made it there yet. That's another story. It's actually kind of funny. And then, like I said, the main attractions, the Burj Al Arab over here, the Burj Khalifa. Those are some of the big main attractions, but there are like endless attractions throughout. There's like the Dubai Frame. There's just like, it's like they basically planned out this city for constant photo ops everywhere you go. There's just amazing architecture throughout. So I would say like the Dubai Mall, Jumeirah, Dubai Marina, Dubai Canal, the Gold Souk, Burj Khalifa, and Burj Al Arab, Kite Beach. Those are like your main, must do while you're there. Language, as I mentioned, kind of already covered that. Right there in that picture, you can see that the man's writing my name in Arabic, so that's kind of cool. I guess there's like a pretty easy way to translate our letters to Arabic. And then, yeah, covered history, technology. Holy moly. Okay, so this is one of the cool things. You have all this history, right? All of this past that's not even that long ago, right? But it's based on thousands of years, this tribal nation coming together. And now, like, not only did they come together and built these massive cities and structures, but they're pushing for the most advanced technology in the world. So they've got RoboCops, they've got the jetpack, which is like Iron Man, basically. They're working on flying taxis they'll be releasing. They're working on like the most advanced medical technology, and they just launched rockets in the most recent years, so they've gone into space now, and they're setting up simulation, like little cities and simulation for living on Mars. They're making plans for living on Mars. in the next 500 years. Can you imagine? We don't even have local governments that can plan our road systems for the next 5 years. Imagine 500 years of planning. So 90% of the education, infrastructure, speaking of planning. Okay, so this is actually a picture taken from the Burj Khalifa. So you can kind of see like all the water down there is where I took the other picture I showed you earlier when I was talking about the fountain. And this picture got turned the wrong way. I'm really sorry. You're gonna have to tilt your head to the left. But basically their infrastructure is, just as advanced as anywhere else in the world. They've got buses, taxis, airplanes, helicopters, all that stuff, right? And their road system is actually based on American road systems. So you drive on the right side of the road, on ramps, off ramps, things like that. It's just like driving on an interstate, like in Seattle. Actually, it's better. But yeah, it's there's definitely like a intricate network of road systems there. So yeah, it can be a little challenging at times. And then they have like a little tram. It's like a little above ground subway train that you can take that can get you pretty much anywhere, all the main attractions and stuff. So but yeah, and then how do they supply all the water, right? So they have what's called a desalination process. They pull water from the Persian Gulf and create fresh water. They also are doing, I don't know if I agree with this, but they're doing a thing called cloud seeding. So they're trying to create their own fresh water and aqueducts to be able to provide fresh water to their community and their growing demand from the population increase. So some pretty awesome stuff. They have everything like organized out. There's like specific areas for, like I mentioned, Media City. Like that's all, like you'll find NBC and MSN and like all the media companies are located over there. It's sort of like a little tech hub. And so you have like these like touristy areas like around the Burj Khalifa, it's all mostly tourist, vacation rentals and stuff like that. So things are really like organized, right? Waste treatment facility and garbage is like out way away from everybody, but all kind of grouped together in like a nice way. So I kind of appreciate that. Like there's a lot of thought and planning versus like where we have like maybe in the US or in Europe, like we had these little cities already planned out, and then technology came and cars came, and we didn't really change those cities much, right? So these like road systems that don't really work very well for cars, or old plumbing or old wiring, things like that. There's none of that really there. Most everything's new. And so this other picture, it says education. I didn't get any pictures of the school, so I was like, this is pretty close. It's near the school, one of their international schools. 90% of the education is private schools. So it's expensive for education, very expensive, but it is also some of the best education in the world. It's all based on British and high-level India academic schooling. So like it's learning multiple languages. It's far superior scientifically than what our expectations are in the United States. So they have a goal of trying to be, they see it as like education is the best way to make your society rise to the top and be the most competitive in the world. So that's kind of the focus. That does include women too. My picture ended up all the way over there. What the heck? Oops. Sorry. I clicked on it to try to fix it. Okay, almost done. Yeah, so just kind of wrapping it up. ignore the title. Apparently I messed up on this slide. Sorry. So the overall arching theme, it's peaceful, all cultures, all religions, all race, all classes. It's advanced, most advanced technology, as I mentioned. Historical. I mean, it's got like this whole combination, the history and the new age. It's really cool. And there's a million things you can do there. If you went to this place and you said you were bored, I would wonder about you a lot. Because you would never run out of things to do. I was there this last time for 10 days and I did so many things and I still didn't even scratch the surface. So I just wanted to thank all of you for your questions. I'm really excited that you wanted to learn about this foreign country and this place on the other side of the world. I wish that I had that more open mind about it. I did let too many political or family influences keep me from learning about this wonderful place for so long. And I kind of just focused on the traditional stuff for a long time, Europe and like Mexico and stuff like that. But I really encourage you to maybe find a way that you can go out and travel and see the world, because the world is full of amazing people and amazing experiences. And you'll never be the same. You'll change for the better. So I totally think you should do it. And I also had to share this. So thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity to share my journey. And if anyone has any questions whatsoever, I'm happy to answer further questions or provide more detailed information or resources on, what there is going on over there for Dubai and UAE. So I don't know, let's put a tour together. Anyways, so thank you so much and be well and take care.